Welcome to Season 7 of Paper Talk,
where we share stories about growing and thriving in your creative business.
I'm Quynh Nguyen of Pinkham Hosey.
I'm Jessie Chui of Crafted to Bloom.
And I'm Sara Kim of Handmade by Sara Kim.
In this season, we want to explore the evolution of an artist's journey and the growth and struggle of having a business.
Plus, we'll chat with other entrepreneurs and artists to uncover their keys to success.
So get ready to unlock the potential in your creative journey with us.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Paper Talk. We're so happy that you're here. And today we're actually going to give you a little peek into our mastermind that we've been doing for the last 2 weeks. So it's a little bit early, but it's been amazing. I absolutely love connecting with the people in our group and giving you a chance to actually talk about underneath the hood. And Sara and Jessie has been really, really amazing on giving guidance to the people in the group because everyone's experience has been really different. And I love the fact that I get to do this mastermind with Sara and Jessie because it's been really insightful. And I think the people in the group are really grateful for the insight that they've been able to offer because not one person has the answer to everything. And I would say multiple brains are better than one brain, to be honest. Mm-hmm. What have been your experience, you guys?
Yeah, I love that we can kind of go through some of the problems together. And I know there's some problems that are kind of like early on in business. And then there's some that are experienced and, going through some of the parts that we're going through as well. So I do think it's just like a good community time, It's like, I do think we're still like in the early stages in our group. So we're still kind of getting to know each other, but definitely this recent one that we had, the recent meeting, I feel like we all kind of felt a little more comfortable with each other and sharing a little bit more details of just, things that we're working on. And yeah, I can't wait to see like how much further we can go in the next couple weeks. I feel like some of the questions that we went through, it's definitely a question that I get all the time. Like, where do we even start? Some of the questions, it started from there. And it is hard for me to kind of like go back to where I started and think about like, how did I start? But some of my answers are really, but you just need to start. It doesn't have to be like perfect,
Yeah. No.
And
sure.
And I think some of our members, they are really like stuck in that. Like everything needs to be like put in place. But I was like, no, I think you just need to start for now and then like fix it later. That's my advice. I don't know where you guys feel about like where to start. Although we have like a pretty good guideline in our course itself, I think we just went through the chapter with building your website. And I do feel like, those are like really good rules to follow, but I don't even think you need a website at this point to start. You can start from Instagram. So if you guys are kind of stuck there too, I do think you guys should just go for it. I don't know.
I think there's a hang up on the naming of their business. And I know it's because everyone wants to put their best foot forward. So you kind of cling on to that idea that, it has to be perfect. It has to be forever. But I mean, as we all know, it doesn't have to be forever, right? It can evolve and it can change. And on Instagram, it's so easy to change it actually, right? Yeah. You just change your name. But I think putting your face out there to the world does a couple things. One, for yourself personally, I think you are mentally telling yourself, you're putting yourself out as a business person and not just as a hobbyist or a crafter. You're literally doing that. And it changes, I think, the way you think about yourself and how you conduct yourself as well. Because we've been seeing a lot of people in our group making flowers for weddings, for friends, family. And that kind of relationship with friends and family is a little bit different from a relationship with paying clients. Even if your friends or family are paying, it's a little bit different. So I think it is important to kind of change that mentality in your mind of being a business person as well as a artist. And then secondly, putting yourself out there means other people know what you're offering. Because if you don't tell them what you're offering, no one's going to approach you. It's a lot to ask for someone to approach you when they don't know what you're offering. So yeah, I mean, I've changed my name, I think like 3 times on Instagram over the years, but at the beginning, actually, it's not hard. You don't have a lot of followers. Nobody really notices. Maybe if you have a big following, then it's kind of obvious, but I don't think it's a worst case in the world if your handle is something like your initials or your pet's name or something related to flowers, just to get started, right? Just to like get used to the idea of putting yourself out there. Yeah, I think it's really important. And we were just talking about that actually, in terms of what's working in our mastermind, what not, what can we do more to kind of guide our members, what kind of motivation do they need? Because everyone's coming from different walks of life and they all have different reasons for being here. So yeah, one of the things is just take that first step and then I think it'll be a lot easier to kind of move.
Agree.
I feel like when I started, I think I didn't really have a name either, but I was like, that's why it's Handmade by Sara Kim. And I think I actually wanted to change my name somewhere in between. I was like, oh, I wish I came up with something more clever, like Pink and Posy or something, I was like, my name isn't that great, but you know what? I stuck it through and that's what it is. Like I started literally with that because how else do you explain what I make? It's made by me. Yeah. I wish there was a clever name too, but
yeah.
Everybody knows your work.
Yeah. And I feel like, well, if you don't want to be stuck with doing specifically paper flowers only, maybe you could make it a little bit more like vague. And that's why I decided to do it like, oh, I make stuff. So it's always going to be made by me. And it doesn't have to be paper flowers, I guess. It can be jewelry, which I did, or like accessories. So that was kind of at least where my name came from. But I get it. I get why they're afraid to take that first step. But I actually got a couple questions on my Instagram just recently about, I think I had like put out, oh, do you have any business questions so that I could answer it here on Paper Talk? And a lot of them were, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to build your online website or online store. I feel like you just need to go for it. There's no waiting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the first thing you need to do is ask for help and recognize that you do have this problem and then see who around you can help you. I think that was my thing when I first started doing website. I was like, who do I know in my local network that can help me walk me through how to do a website? And if I couldn't find someone or I got it started, but then I started to notice like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. You guys, YouTube is such a big place. Mm-hmm. I feel like YouTube can walk you through how to do anything, how to fix your plumbing, how to do a website, how to do Canva. This is a great one where you can stop, pause, play, rewind, and just listen to it over and over until you get it. And it takes time. Anything that you do right now takes time. And that's the commitment that you need to put on yourself is to like, you know what? I'm going to do paper flowers. I'm going to sell paper flowers. That is the statement that you need to tell yourself every single day. And how do you go about pushing yourself? Okay, I'm going to say, I'm going to sell this one flower today. How are you going to do it? You need to start brainstorming and just writing it down. I would say, I'm going to put this out there. All paper flower people are paper people versus journal. You love paper and pen. I know everyone has their set of journals. They probably have not written in yet. Open it up, crack that spine, open that fresh pen, and just start writing. Just brain dump. This is going to be your journal that only you have eyes on. No one's going to look at it. Give yourself freedom to write, to make mistakes in there, to scribble, to use all your markers and says, these are the colors I love. These are the colors I hate. These are the flowers I want to make. And just make lists because this is your time to reflect and to motivate yourself because who best can motivate you is only you have. You're the only guidance that you can rely on yourself and to blame yourself and to cheer on yourself because that voice in your head is either going to be a positive one or a negative one. And only you have the power to change that voice in your head. And I think people say I'm probably the most positive person they've ever met, but that took training.
Yes, you are.
It does take training. You need to like always push yourself and to say, you know what? I can make this happen. But there are negative days. I admit to that, but it's coming less and less because I'm just telling myself, you know what? Yeah, you have a bad day. You had a bad email. You had a bad response. How can I change that? And notice that I'm saying I. And I think that's the biggest thing. You can't rely on your spouse. You can't rely on your mom and dad. You can't rely on your siblings because only you can make it happen. And you need to tell yourself and write it down. And the biggest thing you can say, I am a paper artist. That statement is so strong. And you tell yourself that every single day and you push yourself to say, I'm going to be an artist. And I have to tell you, I've been saying that statement and only recently in the past few years that I have accepted internally that I am an artist. And it took me a really, really long time to really admit to that. And I love it. And it's giving me freedom to color my crepe paper. Whereas before I like, oh, the color is so beautiful. I don't want to mess it up. But when you give yourself that permission, you can do so much more. I really encourage you to really write it out, say it mentally in your head, and just give yourself freedom to do this.
Yeah, I love that. I know. I feel like as a small business owner and an artist, you really just you do have only yourself to really get going. It's like a huge self-motivated thing, like to run a business, from our home or and to even make things, to create and stuff. It really is, you're on your own. But I do love the fact that we do have our mastermind because we could obviously share those struggles with people that know how that feels. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I do feel like even though I'm on my own, Quinn's on her own, Jessie's on her own. Mm-hmm. When we get to talk together, here, we get to feel that pain together and be able to problem solve things that we run through. Since we are specifically paper artists, we obviously could go through that together. But yeah, on my regular days, I'm just home, playing in my head. I'm like, oh, fine, I have to go to work. I should do this. Yeah.
It's so hard to be motivating yourself. Probably all your life you've had, if you work in a desk job or anywhere, construction, there's a project for you, right? This is your task. It's handed to you or a client comes in. And so you know exactly what you're supposed to do. You kind of have a running list, right? And likely you don't have to market yourself. If you did, it's maybe after hours or whatnot. And then you maybe have other people who do other things for you, but they've already been hired. But when you are a solopreneur doing whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, you really have to pound the pavement because there's no one else but you. And as humans, we're not naturally inclined to do things that might be hard, that we might not like. And I know in our course, we do talk about some of those things, about how to make it easier for ourselves, whether it is hiring someone or using tools and systems that we use to motivate ourselves and keep ourselves on track. But I think one of the biggest things, and I've spoken about this before on the podcast about my issue with productivity. It used to be a running theme amongst all of us, was that actually participating in a group, it was group coaching, but essentially it's a group support. Right? Participating in something where there are people to hold me accountable, whether it is a coach or mentor, or in our case, it's the mastermind, but holding people who are part of that group accountable and having people literally ask you oh, talked about XYZ last week. How did that go? It really lights a fire under me that I have to do what I said I was going to do. And that I'm actually forced to commit to something. It's so easy to think about everything you want to do in your head, even writing it down and writing dates down. And it's in your tickler system. It shows up as reminders and tasks on your phone, but it's so easy to ignore them. But when you meet, regularly with people who care about you, who actually want you to succeed, I think it's external motivation, but it's motivation nonetheless that actually really pushes you to be the best that you can. Now that we are doing this mastermind and just seeing, it's been only 2 weeks, but seeing people really sit down and think about what they want to get from this and asking questions that I know they've really thoroughly thought about, but they just needed that extra push, that extra kind of encouragement. That's been really motivating for me because I know that something's happening in their lives to push them in the direction they want to go. I mean, seeing that, I think that's why we started talking about extending or creating a mastermind 6-month commitment where we can provide more of that kind of guidance to people who are looking for that type of support, longer term support.
Yeah. We were just talking about oh my gosh, 2 weeks has passed. We only have 4 more sessions with this group of people. And it's not enough. And we're struggling with how do we push them to hold them more accountable, to make something that they're going to walk away from this particular 6-week mastermind to say, yes, I did this. And we want to continue that talk to say, yes, you got this. Now, are you ready for the next step? Are you ready for the next step? And it's a slow thing. It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of foundation that needs to be built before you can motivate yourself and push it and to do it. And I think the first thing that we are noticing right now is people are struggling with naming their business. And I think that's been an eye-opener because I feel like you need to sit with your friends and family and says, okay, everyone, we're going to brainstorm a name. And then you could pick and choose and talk about why that particular word resonate with yourself and just go for it. Just say, when I'm walking out of this particular session, I'm going to work with this name for X number of weeks or months, or maybe it'll stick. If you're not you need to give it a chance. You worked that particular conversation and talk. You just need to do it. All 3 of us are yes, just do it. It can be anything. Just do it.
It's not your child's name. I was just thinking, as you were talking about that, in the back of my mind, I'm like,
it is our child's name. Are you
it
kidding
is your
me
child,
though?
but you
Because
can
it's our
change
child.
it.
Yeah.
It's not like one of those like, you give one of my friends, she didn't name her child for like 3 weeks because she couldn't figure out a name.
Wait, you can do that?
no.
Like after giving birth?
Yes,
Oh.
yes. You
Just
can.
leave it blank for a while? Because you have to go down to like the office or
Well, because
whatever?
she was like testing names. But no, she
That's
didn't have to
funny.
commit to a name on the birth certificate. No, she didn't.
But I have friends that don't know the name until like literally the last minute. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, anyways, in Ontario, you can do that. But it was just, Quynh, when you were talking about that, I'm like, yeah, no, a name is really important for a child, for our business as well, because our business, like Sarah said, is our child as well. But to be honest, it's not like naming your child. It actually isn't comparable. It's much more flexible.
Yes.
But as you're talking about, I think it's the commitment. I feel like when you name something, it's like you own it and you have to build it. Yeah. And you know that you're committed to this name and you want to have it succeed, almost like your child. I think that's why everybody in our group are moms or are wives or have a fur baby. And I feel like they have that mentality, that nurturing, and they want to nurture their business the same way. And sometimes you need to put a little distance from it. And it's okay. Because you can...
it's that distance. Yep. And it takes time. Like you said, it's kind of like you sit on it, you try it out, and then you process it and it gets absorbed into you. And if you don't like it, then you change it. Yeah, I understand it. It takes time to even commit to a name. But but after that hurdle, I think it's such a huge step, right? It really takes you from you don't have a business to, oh my God, I do have a business. It's exciting. It's really exciting. And things actually get done at that point. But yeah, I know we're still working through some of that with some of our members.
It's interesting how a lot of them, that was the issue, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought there would be other things that we would go through, but yeah, that was like a main one for a lot of them.
And that's why we were thinking, at least 6 months, really, I think is more of an ideal time for this type of support where we're there to guide people through those processes. Yeah.
There'll be a little bit more space because we're only going to meet twice a month versus every single week, because that's a huge commitment, because we're trying to get you to a goal after 6 weeks. But with the 6 months, I feel like there's a lot more time to get to know the people in the group. And I think that's where we've been asking them to reach out, to talk to each other. Because once you get to know someone, you're cheering them on the sideline. These are going to be your lifelong friends, to be honest. Someone that you can message, call, text, whatever. And you know that you'll have their back. I mean, the reason why we did this mastermind is I feel like I'm in this mini mastermind with Jessie and Sarah. And I want this relationship for the people that sign up for our mastermind, because seriously, flower people are the best. I feel like every flower person that loves flowers to the depth that we love flowers, it's this gateway to sharing, because when you have flowers, you always want to share flowers versus, the cuttings, the seeds, ways to take care of the flowers, how to make the flowers. It's just our nature. And I feel like if you haven't met another flower person, go meet somebody, because they are willing to tell you everything about flowers. Yeah. And they're very giving people. And I love that.
Yeah, I think for me, it really isn't. I feel like I might be pretty self-motivated. I think I do wake up and I am pretty I'm on it, right? I have a long list. I always go through them. But the biggest thing that I get from our group and our podcast here, I think it's just someone cheering me on, because there's no one doing that. I know, sometimes my husband's oh, great, but it doesn't feel as genuine.
Yes.
And it definitely feels, you guys know. So when you guys are just my positive, and I don't know, I think that's more motivating for me. And that's what I lack, right? Especially coming from an Asian household. We never got oh, I'm proud of you. That must be, I think that's what I crave the most, actually. It's not necessarily keeping you accountable, although that's really important too. But I think it's just that cheerleader support that I need, that I personally need.
I think some of it is the energy that takes place in the group. You feel everyone else is so enthusiastic, talking about their businesses, the flowers, everything. And then it kind of riles you up and you come out of it feeling really energized, right? To be I can do this. It makes a huge difference. different. Yeah, my husband doesn't, I mean, he likes my posts, but he doesn't really understand what I'm doing, right? He doesn't
So
truly understand the
true.
struggles or anything like that. So yeah, it's very different when you have a group of people who are following along and are kind of doing the same thing that you are. And not competition. It's not competitive at all. It's just more like a group of friends who are all trying to achieve things together. And yeah, it's a really gratifying feeling when you come out of these meetings and you're like, I can do this too. I know, even though we're so far into our business, we still need that type of motivation sometimes.
I think even more so, to be honest.
Yeah,
even more so. Because you feel like I feel like all three of us were continuously evolving our business all the time. We're thinking about how can I make my business better? How can I change my business to the lifestyle that I want right now? My kids are growing up, actually want to have more free time. How do I make that happen? Or now my kids are leaving the house. I want to do more into my business, do more paper flowers, teach more, do all those different things. You don't stay stagnant. People change over the period of time. And I found that having you guys there has been just really amazing that I can tell you guys, okay, this is my problem. This is what I want to do. And I feel like it's such a great motivator. Like having Sarah step into my life in the past couple of years has really made me rethink about, and just watching her from afar. I mean, it's just her commitment to her business has been like, wow, that's amazing. And she's been in
I feel the
business way
same
longer
way
than
to
Jessie and
you.
myself.
I'm always like, to my husband, I'm like, oh, Quynh, I was talking to her and yeah. He knows everything.
No, I just read a lot.
Yeah.
I try to read a lot. It's been hard.
Yeah.
Are you reading? I noticed that you haven't been talking about books lately because I know that in the evening you try to read.
Oh, I don't read. No, I try to because my husband's a reader, but yeah, it's hard. I think, like maybe for me, when I want to wind down at night, I don't want to think about anything. I just veg out on my phone or something, It is, but then I feel like I want to read so that I can be better at speaking, better at writing. I am really relying on ChatGPT now. Like my whole life revolves around it. And I feel like maybe I need to read more books and make me better at writing so I don't have to rely on ChatGPT. Yeah, that's my only thing.
Yeah, if you read magazine, that works too.
Yeah.
Just the New Yorker.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't even want to read captions on a TV show. I'm like, that's too much work for me. Sorry, guys, I'm not a reader. I do love the fact that our course, actually, we did have some recommendations of resources and stuff in our course, but a lot of them I had to ask my husband. I had to ask him, like, hey, do you have any books that go well with this chapter? And he actually recommended a handful of them. And I was like, okay, that worked.
Yay for our husbands.
Yeah. There were some good books on there, though. And there were some of the ones that you guys named that I did really like too. So according to ChatGPT.
But you should put it on, get the audio for the library. And as you're walking or whatever, just have it.
I did have a couple books that I did not read. I listened to, and that's nice.
I do find marketing books very motivating.
Yeah, they are.
Like every time I finish or I'm on a chapter, I'm like, oh my God, I can implement this. I can, there's a lot of ideas. But I do find that generally they're very motivating. But they can be dry, obviously, if you're not if you're not a reader. Marketing, not a story, right?
Be in the right mindset to accept what they're offering. Do you guys have any good life hacks for our audience and for each other?
I'll go first. I actually got, I think maybe it was a question on our mastermind, but, or maybe it wasn't, I don't remember, but it was about how to make templates. And I do get this question a lot. And I do in the future hopefully I could have a real course behind how to make templates. One of our members actually mentioned that she wanted to start dissecting real flowers. And I know Jessie does that all the time, but I actually, a lot of times that's literally my life hack. I do dissect the flower. I also try to, if I can't find the flower, the real version of it, I would just try to Google images that are specific to different parts of the flower. So a petal, and then I'll ask how the average size they are, how wide they are, how long they are, stuff like that. And usually all of that information is online. So that's, I guess, I don't know if that's a life hack, but a lot of people don't really know where to start, how to make a template out of your flowers. And that's literally how I start. I do sketch out what the flower would look like if they are flowers that I don't have in hand. I mean, the easiest way is to literally do a real flower. You dissect it out, kind of flatten it out, and then you can draw out the petals and the center and then like the leaves. Yeah. And sometimes I would take photos like based on my hand, like the size, figure out like how wide is it, or like, yeah, if I don't have a ruler or whatever, I'll usually measure it by my hand. So templates are a really good way to like even just organize what you made, right? Like if you have to go back to like a peony, like half a year later, you have to figure out how you made it, then you would need the template for yourself. But even in the future, making that a part of your business, whether you offer it for your workshops to have a template for your students to cut along with it, or just selling it even, or having it as a freebie on, I think Jessie mentioned that in our mastermind, but having that as a freebie for your newsletters or in the future marketing. So I do think, yeah, having templates for your flowers are really important.
100% agree with that.
Yeah. So in the past, I would only make templates for tutorials, especially if I'm teaching. And I didn't really make templates for myself because I start by cutting off squares, right? And so it's just all measurement. But I did find that having templates around does help me kind of overcome the burden of starting a project, because I don't have to go back to my notes and read all these things that I wrote down about it. I just need to rely on, okay, this template. I know that at least, like, it kind of primes me to remember what I'm supposed to do and the shape and size. But yes, in terms of creating template, it does help having real flowers. But if not, Sarah, as you said, photographs, I actually find that the most important part for me are the proportions, because it's relative, right? So all I need to know is really the proportions of, let's say, petals to the sepals, to the thickness of the stem, to each other, right? And once you get those proportions or the ratios right, then you can make it as big as you want or as small as you want. For example, even with my bird templates, right? I literally just take a picture of the flower or bird in various angles, and then you kind of like cross-reference each other, I guess, in a way. You rely on one, let's say, flower that has like the best view of what you want, whether it's the petal shape or the size or how it comes out, and kind of use that to draw out a template. And then, I mean, it seems like a lot of work. It kind of is, but it's because you can't get all the information from one photo, right? Not like a real flower where you can trace everything. But photos I have relied on in the past, and it's kind of like you kind of Frankenstein it in a way. And that has helped me, like even making like the bearded iris with the stencil, I Frankensteined. And I think that's okay, because you're an artist. You take artistic liberties. And I actually think that's a great way to take artistic liberty, to kind of make it up a little bit as you go, but still capture the essence of that flower to you anyways. But yeah, I don't know if that, I think that I kind of piggybacked on what you were saying, Sarah.
Yeah.
With the life hack. But yeah, I use Illustrator for that. And I'm sure you did too. Just use Illustrator and kind of like draw it out and then Frankenstein it a bit.
Yeah. I use Procreate on my iPad a lot because that's like such an easy way to start. But even before like the iPad, I did start with just like scanning on my printer. This was before an iPad, like before the iPad even drew. I would just either take photos or I would scan it through like my printer, a petal or whatever. I don't know. I think I started my chamomile. I think I made those. They're like small little daisies. I think I just like scanned it, and that's how I made my template.
That's the perfect way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scanning.
Old school way.
Old school.
Yes.
Whatever works for you, to be honest. It's take time, but I did find like once you do a template, it's easy to expand it or change it up, and without kind of reinventing the wheel every time you make that flower.
And I think it's a good reference.
Yes, you're right. It's a good reference.
I would piggyback on this organization. Make sure you organize all these flower types. If you have your templates, if you have the paper that you're using it for, because you did all this research, and for you not to like archive it and to store it away that you know what you use instead of like, what did I do last time? That's the reason why you want to create these little Ziploc bags or these plastic containers that you have all these different pieces, your notes in. I like to do a double one where I have the physical piece, but then I take pictures of it and do a Google digital document that has all this information. Because sometimes it's easier for me to sit at my computer, pull it up that way versus like digging it through. Because by that time, I probably made it like maybe a few months ago or a year, and my experience and my techniques has improved, and I want to piggyback on that. But I don't want to start where I did want to start, and I want to evolve it a little bit more. So that gives me a little bit more, like I don't have to start from scratch right off of what I did beforehand.
I think I have over like 200 flowers, definitely more than 200 that, I don't even remember. If a customer is like, oh, can you make this flower? I was like, oh, I think I've made it before, but I need to go look back and figure out which flower that was. Yeah. So you have to archive it, like you said. And, you never know what kind of orders you'll get or what kind of look you're going for, especially if you're doing like wedding bouquets. You have to go back and figure out which flower you're going to be making. I obviously like memorized how to make like a ranunculus and like peonies because that's like the common thing that we're always making. But like some flowers, I was like, oh, I don't even know when the last time I made that. So I have to go back and make it. Yeah. I have to relearn what I made.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. If you guys have a life hack on how you make templates or store your paper flowers, drop in the comments. We want to know and share it with our audience because the best way to evolve as an artist is share what you know so other people can learn. And you know why? Because we can get more supplies into the States and around the world because people know that you want it. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful week and we can't wait to chat with you again on your favorite podcast episode.
Bye, guys.